Hello, everyone. Happy Black Music Month and happy Pride Month. I hope everyone is listening to Black music, listen to LGBTQ plus Black musicians, which I'm going to talk about one today. Also, there's a fly buzzing around, so if I'm swatting, that's why. And I don't know where it has been because it's been in my room since last night and it has not flown out. So, and I can't catch it. So it might be a thing in this video. Also, we're in the corner again because I don't feel like moving my tripod. Very lazy couple of weeks, even though my couch is right there. I know y'all can't see it, but it's not that far. But I don't feel like moving and resetting up and replugging this thing over there. But next week I will make sure I'm on the couch. Switch this up. So today we're talking about an artist called Durand Bernarr, and he is an LGBTQ plus Black artist. I reviewed his Tiny Desk in a short. If you haven't watched it, go watch my review of it, and then go watch the Tiny Desk that he did. It's really great, honestly. So I reviewed his discography today. So this is going to be a little confusing. I'm only doing 2 albums, even though I was using Apple Music and they count an album. They're counting one of his EPs as an album, but then on Wikipedia it says it's an EP and not an album, which it's like only like 7 songs. So I understand why it's not an album, but for some reason Apple Music just put it in there. So I'm only gonna review his 2 main albums, even though they were disputing definitions of albums on Wikipedia and on Apple Music. So yeah, I'm going to give you a little information about him. He's an American singer-songwriter. Why do I not have his birthday in here? Hold on. Y'all, sometimes I make notes and I don't know what I be doing with my notes. I don't know. And I took it right from Wikipedia. Do they not even have his birthday? That might be why. Oh, it's not at the top. Okay. They don't even, oh, they do have, okay. It was September 16th, 1988. Right now. I'll go back to my notes. If I can find them. Okay. So, he frequently provides background vocals for neo-soul artists Erykah Badu, and is featured vocals for other artists such as Anderson .Paak, Kid Trinata, and The Internet. And in 2019, Bernarr was a runner-up on the BET Reality Music Competition, The Next Big Thing, and he released his latest album, Durand. It's like Dur, D-U-R, and then the and symbol. In 2020. They do not mention his newest album in Wikipedia, so whoever's in charge of this page, y'all not doing your job. I don't know if people get paid to fix up Wikipedia or if it's just voluntarily, like just fans, but somebody needs to update this. He was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. He was raised as the only child by his mother, a professional music teacher and vocal coach, and his father, an audio engineer who worked with artists like Jay-Z, Beyonce, Rihanna, Jill Scott, and Whitney Houston. So he's kind of a little nepo baby. Not major nepo baby, but he has some connections, it seems like. At 16, Bernarr accompanied his father on the tour for Earth, Wind & Fire as a production assistant. He attended church where his mother was a musical director, and his interest in music was further nurtured by gospel music when he heard there. And he cites Erykah Badu, Rick James, and Little Richard as his biggest influences, which I can definitely tell they are. I'm gonna try to not just read everything word for word. In 2008, he kind of built up a digital fan base by recording covers on YouTube that incorporated singing, dancing, and comedic commentary. He also covered popular songs by artists like Kanye West Amy Winehouse, and Gnarls Barkley. He released his first mixtape titled Alcohol Harmony, the mixtape consisting of studio versions of his popular YouTube and original content via Bandcamp, which I just want to say some of his stuff is not on some things. Like, for example, they say he has 3 albums on Wikipedia, but only 2 on Apple Music, and then there were only 2 that I reviewed also on, I don't even know if both were actually on SoundCloud. And then he has his Bandcamp. Bandcamp, I think these 2 are on there, but he has one, I think it's called Blame It on Mango, but I can't find it. So these are the only 2 ones I could find. And then there were other like music they're talking about, and I can't find that either. So yeah, so I'm gonna skip over some stuff. And he has worked with Erykah Badu. Yeah, he's been a vocal. She did hire him as a background vocalist for her band Nia Stella in 2011. And he has toured with her regularly since in years since, as of 2020. So that's really cool. You get to be with one of your biggest inspirations. He actually made an EP called 8, The Stepson of Erykah Badu, a compilation of Badu covers and medleys. And she messaged him through Twitter, and they got together. She hired him, so that's really cool. I'm trying to skip over some stuff. He has a Christmas EP called Extra Stinking Christmas. And there's various Soundtrack was the EP I was talking about, which Apple Music counts as an album, but Wikipedia says it's not an album. I know, and I guess because he's like recently blowing up, it's like a lot of inconsistencies. So he's collaborated with Ari Lennox, Kate Trinata, The Foreign Exchange, The Internet, Sam Sparrow, Thundercat, Knowledge, Queen Hervey, and Tadra Moses. I hope I said their name right. And we talked about the competition. He released his album Durand in September 2020. In a review, Lucas Aubrey of Numero stated the album once again shows his incredible ability to go up in the heights like D'Angelo and down in the lows and groovy frequencies of Nate Dogg and numerous rapped moments. So yeah, so that's a little bit about him. Skipped around some stuff, but yeah, that's a little background. So we're gonna get into the album review. We're gonna do Durand since that came out first. So it was released September 16th, 2020. I think it's actually his second album that the dates are like weird. So just FYI. Not that you would really care, because you just want to listen to the album. You don't have to say. You don't really care when it came out, honestly, right? Okay, so it's R&B/soul, that's the genre. And the vibes I got were smooth, melodic, classic R&B. And my favorite songs were Stuck. It was still a jam, even though it's not the version from the Tiny Desk, it's still a jam. I still loved it. I love his experimental vocals as Nate Dogg, LOL. That was really fun. And he sounds so great, but also like playful, and I love that about the song. I also love Ari Lennox so much. She's also on the track. She's the feature. Super bop. I do wish that Ari Lennox had like her own verse. That would have been really cool. They were just singing together, but it was good for me. But that would be one thing I would have wanted. And then my second favorite song was Curiosity. I love the beat, very funky. Love the vocals once again. He's very talented. He can sang. Yeah, and I say he sang his heart out on this track. He always adds an element of humor, and I really love that as well. Another boppity bop. I really liked it. And then Relocated, once again, very funky beat, vocals on point. I love any song that talks about you being stigmatized, LOL. Cause I once was. I feel like we all have been. What did I say? I think it's good to admit when you're blinded by sex and own it. So yeah. Um, so I feel like it's really relatable. I really love that song. And then my last favorite song is Volume. I love how he makes a simple concept sound so magical. He's talking about visiting his booth the first time. It's really fun and unique. And he's like, I gotta turn the volume down on my radio so I can see the numbers of your house. Because you know how people be like, I can't read when something's too loud or something. You know how people be. Um, and I love how he seems to have so much fun on these tracks and give his all no matter the subject matter of the song. So I just felt like that's really fun. So my overall opinion, I think this album was very good overall. I will say beat wise, some of the tracks started to blend together. So I didn't have a least favorite, but a lot of them were like mass. I really love how Durand is able to give great vocals, but still be playful and entertaining. He had a lot of different subject matters that were simple, but he made layered and unique with his voice. I'll give this album an 8 out of 10, honestly. I can't wait to see what comes up next in the future. So yeah, that's the first one, Durand. Which I guess it would be his like first major release because it's on Apple Music and it's on his Wikipedia. And I feel like it's on his Bandcamp and his SoundCloud. So that seems like officially to me, especially with the name, you know, it's his name. So yeah. So next album is called Wanderlust. I found one date that said September 23rd, 2022, so just last year. But I saw another date that said August. Not that you really care. You're just gonna go listen to the album. I think you should go listen to both albums, actually. Speaking of that. Once again, R&B, soul, and the vibe I got was smooth, fun, and funky. So my favorite songs were number one was Footprints, a very soulful take on a fetish, talking about being stepped on, basically. I think it's really interesting how he can make any subject matter he talks about like so intriguing. Also, the beat makes it so funky, no pun intended, LOL. Talking about footprints. And I do wonder if it's supposed to be a metaphor, but it also sounds very literal to me. But I like it either way. Oh, also, I did say he was an LGBTQ plus artist. He identifies as queer. That's what it says on Wikipedia. And hey, that's the Q, right? Queer. Or questioning. It's all in there. You know what I mean? So yeah. And then my second favorite song was Little Bit featuring Meta. And I put laughing my ass off with a bunch of O's. Well, I mean, I guess anything to have your boo to yourself. So basically, he's like, he don't want nobody too fine. He wants to be a little bit ugly. Which I just feel like that's so funny. It's just so funny and talented, I said. This is too much, LOL. But I do understand wanting to be with someone who is not too desirable to everyone else. I do think it's a little harsh to be like saying to your boo to their face, like, hey, you gotta be a little ugly. You know, say it out loud, LOL. But I also love the beat to this song as well. It was just so funny. Destination. I love his approach to life can be hard, but he's happy to go where but he's happy. I have a typo. I'm gonna say he's happy to go but he's happy about where he'll end up. That's what I'm gonna say. That's what the vibes I got. He's like, oh, you know, life's hard, but you know what? I'm going to my destination, and I'm gonna, you know. But he talks about smoking and like, you know, getting high basically, and you know, just floating through life and floating to where he's supposed to go. So I feel like that's really cool. So yeah, like I said, he said life's hard and he's using what he can to get through it. Once again, love the simple subject matter being turned into bops. LOL. So yeah. And then he has a song called High, which is the next one I'm going to talk about, featuring Devin Tracy. I feel like it's very psychedelic, very otherworldly. It definitely kind of does make you feel like you're high listening to it. Like it has those vibes of like the funkadelic sound and, you know. Relatable subject matter. You're hanging out with your boo or you're hanging out with your whoever and, you know, you're getting high. You're spending quality time. You know. I love that both Durand and Devon sound so great together. They harmonize so smoothly and blend together perfectly. I do think he had a verse. I think everybody who's featured on here had a verse. Which I'm like, why couldn't Ari Lennox get her own verse? But hey, I'm not part of the creative process. And I still like the song, so yeah. My last song on this album that I liked was Intermission. Uh, it's very creative and relatable once again. He makes anything sound so compelling and unique. I think the song is a creative way to say, don't lose yourself in a relationship. So basically saying to the person he's with, you need an intermission, we need some time apart. But we're coming back together. Don't go away too far away, you know. Um, yeah, and I think it's an important message because a lot of people like can let a relationship overtake them. I just saw tweets about that where it was like, you know, if you drop your friends when you're in a relationship, like don't be trying to come back for them, basically. Uh, but you know, some people can do, and like, I don't know, I don't know how harsh you should be on your friends, but I guess if it's like a thing that happens over and over again, you can be like, hey, you can be friends with us and still spend time with your boyfriend, like, or your girlfriend or your partner. You don't gotta drop us. You know, that could be a conversation you can have. You know what I mean? Yeah. So my overall opinion on the second album, I really love this album. Um, I think this one had a lot of distinction between the tracks, even though it did have a heavy 1970s slash funkadelic sound throughout. I felt like they didn't blend together like Duran did. I will say I didn't have any least favorites again, but I also feel like I enjoyed more of the tracks uh, on here, even though all of them weren't my favorite. But I had five favorites this time instead of four, even though I do sometimes like to keep it at four. But I was like, ooh, I gotta add this one. So I definitely enjoyed this album more, and I really think it showcases how he's steadily improving and not getting stuck on one sound. And I think this album was also so much more fun and funny, and I think that kept me engaged to hear more of the outlandish songs. And no matter what, though, everything sounded great. The beats, him singing, sounded great. I gave this album a 9 out of 10. I can't wait to hear more from him in the future. So those are my reviews on Durand Bernarr's discography. I definitely think you should follow him, watch him, see what everything he's doing. I feel like it's really cool. So I'm going to go on a little rant. I was going to go on a samples rant, but he doesn't really sample, but I'm going to explain what's going on in my rant. One thing I really appreciate about Durand is that he really appreciates certain musical genres and artists before him. I don't think he samples in any of his albums, but he often intimidates other artists, but he makes it obvious. You could tell who his influences are by his style of music. He seems to really appreciate everyone who has come before him and not just use them to milk nostalgia, which I feel like is happening so much. Like people are using samples and they're not really changing much. They're not really using a bunch of creative liberties. It's just kind of, and sometimes they don't even change anything. They just sing the chorus and maybe have different verses, but it's the same chorus as the original. And it's like, what is going on? Yeah, and I feel like a lot of artists use and samples and other artists' influences as like a cash grab and an attention grab instead of being purely influenced by them. And I love that Durand can be influenced but still make it his own and not just ripping off nostalgia in a lazy way, which, like I said, is happening a lot. I will say that there have been some creative, like for your imaginings, like for Lotto's fan. What is it? What is it called? Is it called Fantasy 2? Oh, Energy. Big Energy, sorry. It's either Energy or Big Energy. However, on the opposite end, they have like the Baby Don't Hurt Me sample. And I forget which artist it is, but it's basically singing the same chorus but different words. And it's like not really super reimagined. It's like just make a cover at that point. And then I just listened to Coi Levray's My Body. And she sampled It's My Party and I'll cry if I want to. And a lot of people are not really feeling it. And I get it. It's not super new or adding anything new to the song. She's just saying it's my body. I can have sex. I'm gonna edit it with who I want to, basically. Which I mean, it's not a bad message. Do what you want. Consent is good. But it's just not super creative. Is the point? I feel like a lot of people are using samples as a nostalgia grab and a cash grab instead of like it being like a new creative thing. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think who does. You know who does samples really well? I'm gonna be a little biased because she is one of my favorite singers. But Beyonce, she does really good with samples. And I know people like gave her a hard time about samples, but I feel like she uses them really well. I'm trying to think of like a less famous artist that uses them very well. Um, I don't think, and when I say less famous, I mean, you know how famous Beyonce is. I don't mean they're not famous. You get what I'm saying. But I also, Saweetie, I will say some of the samples are really great for her. Like, I can see, like, I like My Type. That was a really good use of the sample. Um, you know what's interesting? I don't think Best Friend with her and Doja Cat, I don't think that was a sample. But I feel like everything else she does, I want to say she samples. But I'm also not 100% about that. I have to look into that. But yeah, I feel like you can do it very creatively, but it's not always being done very creatively. Or people using other people's influences, but they're not really changing much. You know what I mean? So yeah, that is my review of Durand Bernarr's discography. I highly recommend anything by him. Go listen to it. I'm gonna actually listen to more of his stuff, of course. His Tiny Desk was great. He's a great performer. He's a great singer, great songwriter, very fun. You can have a great time. So I highly recommend it. Um, I would say listen to Durand and Wanderlust. I feel like both albums are really good. I prefer Wanderlust, but listen to both. So yeah, I will see you all next week.